Chapter 1. The candle flickered in the dim light of my cramped apartment, casting shadows that danced across the walls like lost souls searching for a home. I had spent weeks preparing for this moment, collecting the necessary ingredients: dried bat wings, powdered bone, a lock of hair from a graveyard, and, most importantly, the cursed sigil I had sketched repeatedly in my notebook. It felt like a twisted rite of passage, an initiation into a world that thrived beneath the surface of reality. "Are you sure about this?" whispered my roommate Jenna, her voice a quivering thread of doubt. She hovered near the door, her arms wrapped tightly around herself as if the air had grown too thick to breathe. "You don't know what could happen." I shot her a smile, the kind that felt more like a grimace. "What's the worst that could happen? A little chaos? A bit of hellfire? Please, I need this." My voice dripped with desperation. I had failed too many times before, and I was done being a loser in both life and the supernatural. This time, I would command the darkness. With a deep breath, I began the incantation, my voice rising and falling in a rhythm that echoed the primal nature of the words. The air grew heavy, tinged with a metallic taste that sent shivers down my spine. It felt like I was standing on the precipice of something vast and terrifying. The candle flickered violently, and a bitter sulphurous scent filled the room. Then, in a rush of air that felt like the breath of 1,000 lost souls, it happened. The shadows coalesced, twisting and writhing, until a form began to emerge, a shape that was both grotesque and mesmerizing. The demon's eyes were voids, black holes that seemed to suck the light from the room, and its skin was a patchwork of scars and scales, glistening like the surface of a nightmare. "I am bound to your will," it hissed, its voice a cacophony of whispers and growls. "What do you desire, mortal?" "Power," I replied, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. "I want to be feared, to be unstoppable. I want to control everything." The demon's laughter was a sound that rippled through my bones, a promise of chaos. "Very well. But remember, every gift has a price." I grinned, too consumed by my ambition to care. I was ready to pay whatever price was necessary. Chapter 2. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself reveling in the newfound power the demon bestowed upon me. I could manipulate people's thoughts, twist their desires like a puppeteer pulling strings. It was intoxicating. I made Jenna do my bidding, convincing her to steal from our neighbors, to spread rumors that shattered friendships like glass. The thrill of control coursed through my veins, and I was invincible. "Why are you acting so different?" Jenna asked one night, her eyes wide with confusion. "You're not the same person I knew." I laughed, a dark, hollow sound that echoed in the empty room. "I'm becoming who I was always meant to be. You should embrace it. Join me." But she recoiled, fear etched across her face. "You're playing with fire, and it's going to burn you." Her words ignited a rage within me, a fury that bubbled beneath the surface. "You don't understand. I'm in control now." I raised my hand, channeling the demon's energy, a surge of raw power that made the air crackle. Jenna gasped, her body seizing as the force washed over her. "You will do as I say." Her eyes turned glassy, devoid of any will, and for a brief moment, I felt a rush of satisfaction. But it was fleeting, like smoke slipping through my fingers. As weeks passed, I grew careless. I pushed the boundaries, demanding more from the demon. "I want to eliminate anyone who opposes me," I commanded one night, the thrill of my intentions igniting a fire deep within my gut. "I want them to suffer." "Very well," the demon replied, its voice dripping with malevolence. "But you must understand the consequences of your desires." I laughed it off, dismissing the warning like an annoying fly. I was too far gone, too far into the abyss to turn back. Chapter 3. The first life I took was exhilarating. I had targeted a rival, someone who threatened my newfound dominance. The plan was simple: a car crash, an accident that would echo through the community. I channeled the demon's power, sending a surge of energy into the vehicle's systems, causing it to veer off the road and collide with a tree. As I watched the news coverage, my heart raced with euphoria. "Look at the chaos," I whispered to Jenna, who sat beside me, a shadow of her former self. "They're all afraid. They know my name now." But as the weeks dragged on, the thrill faded, replaced by an insatiable hunger for more blood. I couldn't stop myself. Each life I extinguished fed the darkness within me, consuming my very soul. I grew addicted to the power, to the fear I instilled in others. "Please," Jenna begged one night, her voice trembling. "You're losing yourself. This isn't who you are." I turned to her, rage boiling beneath the surface. "You're either with me or against me. I don't need your weakness." That was when I realized the true price of my ambition. The demon's laughter echoed in the back of my mind, growing louder, more insistent. It was a reminder that I was no longer in control. The darkness had consumed me, and I was nothing more than a puppet dancing on strings of blood. One night I discovered the ultimate betrayal. Jenna had been plotting against me, gathering evidence of my deeds to turn me in. The realization twisted my gut like a knife, and I felt the demon's presence surge within me, urging me to act. "Jenna, you should have known better," I hissed, my voice laced with venom. "You were the only one I trusted." Her eyes widened, and I could see the fear clawing at her insides. "You're not the person I once knew. You've become a monster." With a flick of my wrist, I summoned the demon's power, twisting it into a horrific manifestation. The shadows shrouded her, and I relished the look of horror on her face as the darkness consumed her, ripping her apart piece by piece. I felt a sick satisfaction as her screams echoed, drowning in the cacophony of chaos I had created. But as the last remnants of her faded, a cold realization washed over me. I had lost everything I once cared for. The darkness I had embraced had left me isolated, a hollow shell of my former self. I was a king of ashes, ruling over nothing but despair. In that moment I understood the true horror of my choices. I had summoned a demon, but in doing so, I had unwittingly summoned my own destruction. And as I stared into the abyss, it stared back, a reflection of the blood-soaked reality I had created. The last thing I heard was the demon's laughter, echoing through the void, a reminder that I was its prisoner now. The world outside continued to spin, oblivious to the monster I had become, and I was left to rot in my own darkness, forever haunted by the blood on my hands.